very, very privileged to make it today to be with you. I come from far actually, and I'm here for a quick visit to UK, to London, for a family occasion. Interestingly, you will hear about the family occasion later in part of my slides. And my time was so limited, but I mean, when I got the call from Professor Alam regarding this workshop and the contribution this honorable people are doing for women, I thought, oh man, who is me not to help out and come and share my views with you? And I hope we make it just a genuine exchange of expertise or experiences, let us put it this way. I come from far. I come from Africa. I come from Sudan. Very proud to be Sudanese. Very proud to be a woman. And the combination of Sudanese and women takes within it a lot of challenges ever since you are born. But as you go through, and I'm sure a lot of people here probably experience the same, you just go through hindrance and obstacles and you learn your way. So you probably learn the hard way. It's not easy. So I chose just to touch base with what Professor was mentioning, but look at it through empowering women through exercising leadership, because I happen to lead a place in the past through my profession, and I learned some stuff while doing that. I'm a doctor by training, and I studied medicine back home in Sudan, but I wanted to progress and I wanted to deliver more. So I came to the United Kingdom in order to learn and improve myself so as to go back to my people to help them and be part of the community, helping people in a certain specialty that seemed to be very rare at that time. I'm a critical care doctor, and by definition, critical care for women is a bit of a no-no. It's very competitive. Not so many women would want to do that, simply because it is so difficult to get to, but at the same time, it is very difficult to have family around you to accommodate it, because your phone is literally 24/7, 365, ready to get a call. I chose this as my starting slide because this is how Sudanese women are envisaged these days, because a lot of people didn't know about Sudan up until recently. Some people didn't even know where Sudan existed. But after we had the uprising, the Sudanese image started to be better, and especially for women. And this is a Sudanese woman who is wearing the Sudanese national dress, which we call a tobe. And she's having this earring that is part of the Sudanese culture, rounded half a moon kind of thing. It's usually in gold. And she was one of those people in the streets surrounding people to push them to protest against the Islamic regime or against the dictator regime. So I think from there, a young girl who is wearing the culture, who is very, very empowered to do whatever she is doing, pushed a lot towards making change. So, when we talk about women empowerment, I think everything here comes to mind. When we talk about women, everything here comes in mind. It's all about women, their gender, their equality, in receiving things, in stereotyping against women, mentoring, how it helps, how it doesn't help. A lot of things will be valid. And The Guardian has chosen this picture to, to tell you about the Sudanese uprising. I don't know, they didn't choose the men holding the flags. It was all women. And in fact, if you are careful, you will see just one man in the middle of the 300 tons, millions, whatever women. So I think all of these women are from different ages, from different backgrounds, and they're even not phenotypically the same, because Sudan is a multicultural, multi-tribal place. So you can imagine all of those people came over in order to do that job. But it's not about ousting a dictator. It's about empowering themselves to empower others So that's it. They empowered and they made the change. So change cannot happen without being empowered. So to me, for women to become effective contributors in the society, it takes a lot. And I'll explain it in a minute. But this is my journey in my last 2 decades after I finished my medical school. Started over in Sudan as a medical student that thrived to be a medical student. But why did I choose medicine? I chose medicine because I wanted to empower myself and my community, because I grew up in a household that helped the public. My grandfather was a guy who had a company that builds houses, that constructs places. Well, in the Sudan in the 1960s, construction was a big thing. But that guy was the same guy that started from scratch, being uneducated, and worked his way to come to the center to build his company. But it didn't happen overnight. It was something that was built from zilch. But this guy was brought up by a lot of women. One of them was his grandmother. And in fact, her name in Arabic was called Haddadiya. And the literal translation was an iron woman. So in essence, that woman had it within herself to be a leader in her tribe. She was the knight of the tribe. She made them grow up having values that are different to others. And she made a guy that impacted a lot of people. One of them is me. So I ended up growing in that household to make a difference, like how he made a difference to the whole of the community. And hence, I went for a challenge, and I came to UK against all the odds. A family that is very traditional. They never heard of a girl going abroad to get education. Probably it was a taboo, and that was not so long ago. It was in the 1990s. And, you know, it was difficult, but I pushed my way through that difficult niche. And I thrived, although it was difficult. And you know, the first day you land in Heathrow, coming from a protected environment, being left alone, is really very challenging. You might just want to go back again the next day, especially when you're faced by the weather changes, the difficulty, the cultural barriers, the cultural changes, the shock, the cultural shock, let alone the fight within your field. My field is medicine, so I have to fight harder than the normal person, harder and harder and harder. It was always a hard fight until I finished my education, and I even thought, okay, now the specialty time. The specialization was even harder because at that time, critical care was not a business for women. So to get in, I had to work 5 times hard or harder than boys. And then I decided one day to, I just woke up and I thought, oh well, after I achieved and I got my consultant post and I was having everything that I wanted or everything someone at my age wanted, I said, okay, if I didn't go to work today because I was whatever, ill or sick or dead, what will happen? So I realized that in a UK system, the Human Resources Department will call upon a locum to cover my shift. But if I was doing the same in the Sudan, for instance, making changes, if I woke up dead or ill, I would probably leave a big gap. So I said, what am I doing here? And I just got on and put my resignation. And I started packing and I went back home. So I bounced back for 6 more years to Sudan, and I ended up starting a fight, a big fight. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was fighting the baddies. I was fighting a political system that was a very rough system, possibly rough against women more than men. They call themselves Islamists, but they were never Islamists. They were never Muslims. And it was difficult to keep fighting a government. But at the end of the day, I found my ways out. The fight was won as far as I'm concerned because I kept my integrity intact, but I collected people around me and I ended up poisoning them with my ideas, if the word poison is right. The ideas is try and be free wherever you are, whenever you are. There is nobody in the world who should feed you things that you shouldn't need or you shouldn't make use of. And I thrived for those 6 years, but I ended up getting tired, and I just all of a sudden jumped to a neighboring country, Saudi Arabia, and it was just out of my desperation. So I went there for about 14 months, and I couldn't stomach it because they look down at women, and you have to wear a abaya all the day, and you can't drive. And when they come to talk to you as a consultant, I'm a reputable person in a reputable hospital, but when you come and talk to the men, family members, they look at you, no, sorry, I need a male doctor. So in order for them to learn about me and understand that I can deliver the job, and I had to work harder. And I had to show them results of people who are sick and dying to come out the other way better. So it was not easy. And I decided, no, this is not the place for me. I need to ride a car. I need to drive my car. I need to feel free. But at that time, my country was not ready to accommodate me with my ideas. So I went down south to Emirates. So in the Emirates, it's kind of a hybrid system between here and there. The system is accommodative. It's diverse. People are coming from all over the world. It's a new country. You can add value by imposing experiences and making change. So it sort of appeals, but still not home. So I'm waiting to go home to give that passion back, because I think my people deserve it. And hopefully I will go back soon. So effective contribution to the society, I think, happens if for women to become effective. It happens if you have two factors operational. When you look into the family and the history and events, it makes you an effective contributor. And obviously, education and freedom to live up to your potential will produce you as an effective person in your society. So let's talk about family. This is the first occasion I attended about 5 days ago. So this young girl is my goddaughter. She was born when I was starting my specialization in the UK. And she took after me most of what I am talking to you about right now. And I came to attend her graduation. That was followed by her wedding only yesterday. So this is family. So it's all about you within your family. You look into how your mom is treated by your dad, how your uncles and aunts treat each other, how your neighbors treat a woman in the household. I think this tells a lot. And I think growing into a household that operated by acknowledging that old night woman made it easier for me to be, in a way, a person who is not the usual normal Sudanese girl who will be married at the age of 18. But at the same time, I had to find my way because it was odd compared to my cousins and my, neighbors, for instance. But I mean, you in the family can do a lot by sponsoring, by empowering, by role modeling, and be a role model for young people. So this is this girl with her brother and sister, but I am in the middle of them being the godmother. They come to me in each and every decision in their life, and they thrive to be like me. But I'm not the best. No, I want them to be better. But at least they listen to you. So this is how you empower them, being a family member who leads by example. And I think the other thing will be through education. Now, I'm very glad, I'm very privileged to have chosen medicine as my trade and my job, because through medicine I can help people, I can save lives, I can look after people who are almost semi-dead with very bad diseases end organ failure, like what we call them in intensive care. People who cannot even talk to you. They're on a machine, they're being sedated and ventilated, and you are their advocate. But who will help those people if you're dead or if you're not around? So you have to educate youngsters, give them the right education by achieving yourself the right level of education to keep empowering them. And I chose to educate people by surrounding myself with them. I mean, this is my round in the morning. If I am in this medical ICU, it's like a 16-bedded critical care, and if I'm covering the shift there, I will not let people just go into each and every room to see patients. No. We see patients one after the other, you being in the middle of the pharmacist, the nutritionist. Those two people in the court are students. That guy there is a respiratory therapist. These are the nurses. This is the other doctor from my field who is a specialist, like an equivalent of a registrar. So by doing that, automatically you empower them. You exchange experience. You tell them exactly your point of view that comes out of 25 years of doing the same job in a glance of a second. And they leave out learning. They might not learn today, but if you keep repeating that, imagine how many people you will change and how many people you will teach. And I think being humble is important. Nobody will receive nothing. Nobody will be empowered by an empowerer unless if the empowerer is humble. You need, the hierarchy is like that, people are below you. How can you reach them if you're not coming to their level? If you don't make them feel that they exist, they're part of you. I mean, can anybody understand what could that be? Just a guess. A wild guess. Probably won't. Anyway, you can see people wearing scrubs. This is our way we dress in critical care, because we take it out and we clean ourselves and we put it back again. But I'm the only one without the scrubs, but it was the weekend anyway. So this is, you know, anybody here with Ethiopian or from Ethiopia? Okay, this is how they serve Ethiopian food. We call it injera. So it's like a piece of bread. It's like a pancake kind of thing. And it's like studded with tagine-like and very nice flavors. So it comes in this pot, and this pot is cow's kind of leather, basically. It's interesting, very interesting. But anyway, the idea is, that was the weekend. These people are, this is Kenyan, this is Indian, this is Filipino, this is Egyptian, this is Ethiopian, and the idea was the diversity. People are diverse in this place. So if you talk to any one of them, or to talk to all of them within this meal, imagine how many countries will be affected, if you see what I mean. So I was the boss. The boss cannot always be the boss. The boss can sometimes have to look after people. So anyway, got them a meal, and we sat around that meal for half an hour. We ate the meal, we exchanged ideas, and you are humble at the end. Who is me not to be humble? These are my people making my patients better. They need to make sure that I understand and I appreciate. So ways like that go back to how you were brought up. I'm sure back home my mom brought me up in order to help my neighbor. Why not help my neighbor, colleague professionally? And role modeling. And this is a very important picture. For those who do not know the United Arab Emirates, it's a young country. It's about 47 years old. And it's a country that is made up like how it is because of oil, but recently in the last 20 years, they're really investing very much into areas of education. They're trying to empower the youngsters in order to get educated, because the country is made up because of a lot of expertise from outside. So they want, by the end of 2030, to get rid of most of the expertise and make sure that they build their country with their local people. So these are my residents. But look, this is the Emirati. This is how an Emirati young gentleman will dress. This is an Emirati. This is a Pakistani. This is a Yemeni. This is an Iraqi. And this is Sudanese. So these are the residents. They follow me in the round. Imagine that you tell them rubbish. In that round, they will go with rubbish. They will not progress. They will not produce nothing. And if you keep telling them the right, if they keep supporting them, making sure that whenever they commit a mistake on a patient, they come to you rather than they keep it. Next time they will not commit it, but But if they did not come to you, then a mistake will be a mistake and it can lead even to patient's death. So importantly, a leader should be supportive in our field. Otherwise, you are doing nothing. So influencing youngsters like this by role modeling will make a huge change, especially to specialties like me. Because in my specialty, there are no women who thrive to be consultant intensivists. But these young kids can do it because they've seen it in the hands of an apprentice who is accommodating them, so why not? So basically, you need to let them comprehend their full rights while you're doing that. You need to make them define their sense of self. You need to define the relationship between their inner circle and the outer world. You need to make sure that the inclusiveness in the societal, the social, the economic, and even the cultural development. And this is always will make them have hope injected into them and faith injected into them so as to go ahead and progress, acknowledging issues like equality, for instance, and human rights. So we all know that health and education outcomes in Africa is the lowest. My country is amongst the lowest, basically. But I think the solution is not one or two or three. It's a combination of a lot. Things like keeping fairness in opportunities, empowering them all the time. So I work with empowerment. This is my job. I work with empowerment because I think it has got a huge impact. And I work with skills improvement because when you get a competent doctor out in the world after 5 years of apprenticeship, it's just like producing something very big because this same doctor will disseminate information and skill and competence to millions of them. And obviously, automatically, if I work in places like mine in Sudan, this will automatically reduce poverty and will automatically produce better outcomes. So I believe that empowering women, from my point of view, is not against my culture, although some people think it to be against culture. It is never. It is part of my DNA where we exchange ideas about my Haddadiya great-grandmother. It is there, but it is the obstacles, the socially constructed obstacles that keeps you away from progressing. For instance, in my situation in Sudan, it will be early marriage for girls, female genital mutilation, for instance, divorce being a stigma, stigmatizing divorce or divorcee ladies, and so forth. So these are the constructed obstacles that we face and we lag behind and we get crippled. So I think you should think about it, about how you want to think about it, because each and every one is different. But I think you should always go back to basics. The way you were raised, brought up at home, will make you either a good person or a better person or not. But even if you came out not a good person, you can make yourself better. You can thrive to do better. Always keep changing to the better. Nothing should stop you. And if you are desperate, just keep looking for someone you adhere to and look up to. It will happen, especially if you have the push from the inside. So I leave you with this thought, and I'm very happy to take questions later. Thank you.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.